Very good morning to all of you. Thank you.
By an incredible panel.
It's a very important topic, which
This session on redefining Europe's place in the world.
What do you think, Yuval, of what is happening in the world today?
Terrible. I mean, we are going back to kindergarten.
Don't politicians say they believe in God because people vote for things that resemble them?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you cannot be elected US president if you say that you're an atheist.
Right. Same for Russia, maybe.
I don't think in Russia you really get elected, but okay.
Does it worry you to speak about Trump in a manner that you think, can I go into America again?
It's worrying that we even have to raise this question.
So if religion were to be a story, and many people wrote many stories, why did the stories of the religions we have today sell?
History is shaped by the human imagination, by fiction, and not just by truth.
What truth?
The truth ultimately is one because reality is one. There is just one reality. Reality can be extremely complex.
If I were Yuval, a 25-year-old boy in India, what would you suggest I optimize for at this point of time?
My gut reaction is nobody has any idea.
Do you believe there is a purpose to life? And if yes, what is it?
People think there is a big story, the drama of the universe. This is something I don't believe.
What do you believe
I
is
don't
the
believe that
purpose?
the universe works like a story.
Right.
I think the ultimate reality
Hi, Yuval. Thank you. How do I say your name?
Yuval. Yeah.
Yuval. Thank you for doing this. I have read many of your books, and I'm quite the fan of how you write and how you think as well. For my audience back home in India, the young wannabe entrepreneurs, maybe we can begin by you introducing yourself a little bit, just for context.
Well, I'm basically a historian.
You know, I didn't expect Sapien was written by an historian. I always thought it was written by a biologist or a geologist. So it's making my interest on the book even more. I have to definitely complete the book soon.
Yeah, the book topic aside, even I didn't read Sapiens, but coming to the topic of history, he said he's a historian, but the kind of historian that believes history is not just past, but like it's a point to study the change and apply that to the future technologies and how we go to the world. But history is also there is also the saying that history is written by winners, right? So there are many tweaks in histories, right? Maybe most of the story we know is completely fictional. It hasn't been happened, right? So studying that part of the history and like making and planning our decisions based on that studied history, do you think the pattern repetition what we study in history, like we know very well that history repeats itself, right? Whether be it in economics, physics, or anywhere, it repeats itself based on what we know. But there are many things we don't know. So we basically don't know how much of an error we have in our data, but still we do the prediction and it works out fine. So either history is written by good people, that's why the predictions are working out, or it's not just history that is given this cycle. That is what I believe, because we, as you know, history, we can't be sure that there are only good people or historians and they only write what actually happened, not one-sided philosophies, right? If that's the case, that is well and good. That's why the predictions are happening exactly how it's supposed to happen. But if the history, and most probably this is the case, if the history is not, very accurate, and still we know predictions are happening exactly the way they are supposed to, do you think this is because of some, let's say, God, some people say, or higher power, or maybe control matrix, whatever it may be? Do you think it's because of that, or maybe something that we don't understand yet, but it's still mathematically and logically provable?
Yeah, as of what information and knowledge I have, we can't talk about things we don't know.
Yeah.
So we shouldn't call them God or superstitial bodies or consciousness. We should just tell we just don't know them. That's a better, because when we teach things for the next generation, if we say it's God and super consciousness, people will treat it the same way. But when we tell we don't know that, that's when people find new methods, new concepts to understand the unknown things. So that's the way we forward knowledge to the next generation.
The way we forward that to next generation, yes, that's a good answer. That is, I agree to that. Also, adding to that, I would say we don't know why the pattern is repeating, but we do know it is repeating, right? We don't know, like, if it's happening because history is written in a certain way, or if it's actually happening. Whatever the case, we know we have enough, like, case studies and enough proof of written things. May it be true, may it be false, but we have proofs that it works out. What it says did work out. So I think we should continue with that predictions because we have enough proof that it's working out, so it will work out fine. And we should also be careful of the cases that it may not work out, right? Because there are some particular things that haven't happened in the history, right? Like, further, maybe we'll be talking about abundance or in the next podcast or somewhere sometime. So that never happened in the history, at least in a civilized or after industrialization per se. So I think we should keep an eye out of the possible errors. So the analysis just got a bit harder with more knowledge that follows that Dunning-Kruger's curve, right? The more knowledge we have, the less competent we become. So I think what we are discussing right now, even this thing should be passed on to our children, not in a pessimistic point of view, but in an optimistic point of view that think about all the routes, all the possibilities that you possibly can. And with AI, I think the possibilities we can calculate are getting, extremely high.
Yeah.
But I'm the type of historian that thinks that history is not just the study of the past. History is the study of change, of how things change in the world. And so it means it's also the study of the present and the future.
And how did you go from being a historian to being a thinker who's coming out with new thought in books? What goes on in your mind while you write a book? Is it an idea that comes first?
Yes. I mean, usually I try to I don't start with a plan, oh, I need to write a new book. So what should it be about?
Right.
Usually I have kind of ideas building up inside my mind. And when they reach the point when it feels like I actually have something new to say, then I'll write a book.
Sapiens I read. I think that was the first interaction I've had with any of your books. Brilliant book. I don't know if I remember all of it.
I won't test you.
What has stayed with you? That book is a little old now. What has stayed relevant from then to today?
I think the main point of Sapiens, which is as relevant today as ever, is that in his history is shaped by the human imagination, by fiction, and not just by truth. That humans control the world because we know how to cooperate better than any other animal on the planet, and cooperation relies on storytelling. that so much of the world is run on fiction, is fueled by fiction. It's most obvious in the case of religion, but even if you look at something like the economy, corporations, money, all of these things are stories that we invented. They don't have an objective existence outside our imagination. I think this was the most important message of Sapiens, trying to understand history as the product of the human imagination and of human fictions. And it's even more true today, I would say, than it was 10, 15 years ago when I wrote Sapiens.
So, if religion were to be a story and many people wrote many stories, why did the stories of the religions we have today sell and kind of like permeate through time? What was so good about these stories, or what was the reason these stories did well and the others did not?
We don't know for sure. To some extent, it can be accidental that you have hundreds and even thousands of different religious stories competing for human attention. And of course, you need to pass a certain level of attractiveness so humans will be interested in that story. But beyond that point, I belong to a school of historians that think that accidents and luck have an enormous impact on what is happening in history, even on the biggest things, like why is Christianity the most widespread religion today in the world? To some extent, it's just luck.
Luck and good storytelling?
No, a combination, of course.
Yeah.
You needed, Christianity has a very compelling story. It has something that people really want to believe. At deep down, if you ask yourself, what is the crucial story that Christianity tells people, it is that you are loved by the God that created, that controlled the universe, that God loves you so much that he was willing to suffer and sacrifice himself for your sake, and that, this is not like the love of a human that you always doubt. Yes, maybe they love me, but maybe they'll change their mind. Maybe they love me, but they don't really know who I am. If they can actually see what is happening inside my heart, inside deep down in my mind, they wouldn't love me. No. This is the love of an omnipotent, omniscient creator God who knows everything about me and still loves me. This is such an attractive idea. The irony.
After reading this, recently I saw a movie. After seeing the movie, I got this thought. When it comes to religion, language, we all want the oldest one, which is the oldest language, which is the first religion. But when it comes to technology or fashion, we always need the newest one, the latest one. Why is it so? In few things we need the oldest one, and few things we need the newest one. Why do you think humans think like that?
Yeah, until now I have a question. I'll be talking about that, but first to answer your question. See, the part humans when talking about history or for the sake mythology or identifying themselves, right? I mean, bounding themselves around tribes, caste, religion, language, whatever it may be. They want to go as back as possible because the more back you go, the larger your boundary gets. What I'm trying to tell you is if you go back enough, you will see that at a certain point, your identity, may it be your caste or your language, whatever you call your identity is, it stops at certain, it disappears at a certain point because at one point there is no thing as that, no such thing, right? So as far back you can go, as oldest you are, that means more experience is your identity. And things like this that grow with time means that more experience your identity have, more weight it has. So more brand it has to be to put it in a certain way. So when you talk about history or religion, when you say this is the oldest religion, mine is the oldest religion, mine is the oldest language, you're basically essentially saying is I am more superior, right? And technology, it happens in the reverse. Why? Because technology adds up, right? Similar to the experience in history also. In history, the more time frame you have, the enough you go back, the more added up is the experience. For technology, the more forward you are. I mean, I know the technology that that got created yesterday, and it will be based on something that created day before yesterday, right? That means the technology that I read about yesterday is a accumulation of all those technologies that has been here since the age of fire and wheel, right? So by identifying the newest thing there is, we are essentially saying we know more technology. We know from wheel, fire, or knife per se with stone, and when we are hunters and gatherers. From there, that is a technology for them. And now we have new models like we have NL coming out. We have hope architecture. So these things, they're newest things, right? When I say I know this hope architecture, what I'm essentially saying is I know the newest technology there is. So that means I know superior technology than yours because it gets better with years. So I know superior technology than yours. So again, I'm identifying myself as superior than you. So whatever the case may be, the fundamental points remains the same that humans want to establish themselves as superior over others. You're getting my point?
Yeah.
Both the cases, the thing is same.
That's similar to the signaling problem.
Signaling problem. So we just want to, like he said, the more attractive an idea is, the more not true it can be. That we can twist that a little and say, the more we are trying to say oldest our languages or I know the newest technology, what we're essentially saying is the more I want your acceptance that I am superior than you.
External validation.
Yeah, exactly. I want your validation that I am superior than you. So that is basically the pull that our amygdala, the monkey brain, they say, has on you, I'm not just on you, as a human race completely. So somewhere we need to understand that it's not always okay for validation. Like it's not always okay for you to ask validation of others. But we should also understand that the push that saying, I know the newest technology will actually give you the force you need, the energy you need to assimilate that new knowledge. So it's basically helping you to gain the new knowledge, but it's also stopping you to stop there. Like your average of 5 people around you. So if those 5 people know technology a year old, they don't know anything else after from 2024. If you know the technology that came out in January of 2024, you're superior than 5 of them. So you'll stop learning from them because you're already superior. You don't need any. You haven't got anything else to do. So you're stopping your learning journey. So you're stopping your growth. So we need to find a good Goldilocks zone somewhere that have a perfect balance between those two, so that we can keep growing at the same time have enough baseline dopamine that we don't feel very like it's not what we are supposed to do. Like it's very heavy weight on us. So that's what I believe. I would like to know your take.
Don't you think instead of comparing with the averages around us, because obviously people around us are not that great, but we want to reach a height which not everyone does. So instead of comparing with people around us, why don't we compare ourselves with our idols? Like for example, if it's startup like Nikhil or Nathan, or when it comes to science like Albert Einstein, Nikola Tesla, such. Why don't we compare ourselves? Obviously, there is a emotional weightage there because they are way above our advantages. But if we can control our emotional brain and undergo that comparison, won't that make a even bigger learning advantage for us?
I would say you're right, but not completely. Like the point you kept forward is right until a certain extent, according to my point of view. The point I would agree 100% is we shouldn't compare ourselves with the people around us, exactly like the people in our level or lower level. We should compare ourselves to people with higher levels so that we can get there. That point I agree. And other thing I want to tell you is when I meant you are average of five people around you, I don't just mean comparing about them. Of course, that's the point I brought here. It is also true in any general case. The room you are in makes you worthy to that room, right? You don't get into a room that you are worthy of from the start. You get into a room and then you become worthy of it. So people should understand that concept, and they need to try new rooms, take that risk, and get better. Until there, I will agree with you. But when you said we need to compare with our idols, there are two particular problems we have here that I can think of. One problem is we don't really know what our idols know, right? It's almost everything is the thing we can assimilate on from books or from media. So what they're fundamentally we don't know, right? And our paths may be same, but ideologies may be like to put it simply, I like this driver, right? Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc. I like their ideologies, both of their ideologies. But they are not in the field that I am necessarily in. I am not a driver. I am not a racer. So, but there are these qualities like winning mindset, confidence, loyalty. These things I can learn from them, right? So you need to know what particular characteristics you like in your idol, may it be in any field, and you need to assimilate those characteristics into you. And then you need to use those characteristics to get better in the field you are currently in. Right way could be choosing an idol in your field itself. Like we may choose Elon Musk or we may choose Sam Altman or anyone it can be. But the point is, if you follow the same path other people follow, you can never be the best in this particular field because you will always be the second best. You will not be the first Neelakandan. You will be the second Elon Musk. So world won't look at you because it always looks at the Elon Musk. It doesn't need second Elon Musk. But if you become the first Neelakandan, world will see you as you will become an identity of yourself. You don't need to search your identity in a separate idol. So at that point, I won't completely agree with you. But like you said, people should compare with higher levels than themselves.
When I say comparing with your idols, it doesn't mean you compare your path. I just compare the output because no one sees the path you came from. It's only the output that matters.
Yeah.
So we have to compare our output and become better than the best.
I agree. Yeah. In that sense,
Irony, to some extent, is that the more attractive an idea is, the bigger the chance that it's not true. It's so easy for people to find evidence supporting the story they want to believe. So the more you want to believe a story, the more suspicious you should be about how easy it is for you to fall for it.
Can you give me an example?
This is just, everybody wants to believe that there is something after death. This is universal in almost all religions in different forms. And the evidence is so meager. I wouldn't say there is zero evidence. I mean,
there is evidence?
Let's agree that whatever evidence there is very, very shaky.
What is the evidence? How can somebody prove there is life after death or not?
Oh, don't ask me. I don't believe it.
Right.
But this is maybe the most common thing that people believe throughout history. And again, I didn't want to say there is zero evidence because then the listeners will say, hey, I heard this story about somebody who was reincarnated and met his family from and maybe there is a little bit of evidence.
Right.
But compared to what you need to prove and compared to the influence of this idea on history, the evidence is so meager and yet so much influence in history. The other ironic thing, and here I speak specifically about the Christian belief. They say that they believe it, but you look at their behavior. I don't know, you look at some of the leaders today in the world, does Putin really believe that, and he says he's a Christian, and as a Christian, this is what he's supposed to believe, a person who believes that an omnipotent God really loves him would go around starting wars, killing thousands, driving millions from their homes? Absolutely not. This is not the action of a man who feels loved.
Don't politicians say they believe in God because people vote for things that resemble them?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you cannot be elected US president if you say that you're an atheist.
Right? Same for Russia, maybe.
I don't think in Russia you really get elected, but okay.
Did you watch any of the politicians speak here this week?
I'm afraid I didn't have time. I read some of the transcripts
Right.
of the speeches, but I didn't have time to actually go and listen to the speeches.
What do you think, Yuval, of what is happening in the world today? Geopolitically.
Terrible. I mean, we are going back to kindergarten, to kind of the first, most basic lessons of politics and of human behavior. You now see the rise or the re-emergence of this view that the only thing that exists, the only thing that really matters in the world is power, is force, and especially military force. You hear many leaders and many ordinary people now say this, that everything else is just facade, is just veneer, it never really existed. The only thing that really happens in the world is power, and all human relations are power struggles, and if anybody tells you otherwise, this is just a trick they are using to gain power over you.
Hasn't man always been like that from the
No.
beginning of evolution?
You always had people with this belief. You always had people who said these things. And the whole history of human spirituality and human philosophy is one long struggle against this very nihilistic and cynical view of the world. If you read, you read Plato's Republic, one of the key texts, at least in the West, of political thought. It starts with Socrates asking one of the people in Athens, what is justice? And this guy tells him, justice? Justice is when the strong do what they want. This is justice. And the whole of Plato's Republic is an argument against that. And, the most basic human level, people should first of all ask themselves, is this how I live my life? Your neighbors, your friends, your colleagues, are you constantly in power struggles with all? You have not a single real friend in the world? Like all the people outside your family, you're just in some power struggle with them?
I would say
if
all
somebody
is-
really believes that, they have such a miserable life.
I agree, but all is an overstatement. But most, would you say?
Even most, I walk down the street, I'm not in a power struggle with people all the time. And it's the same all the way to the level of geopolitics. That this idea that countries cannot have friends, that, the United States and Europe, I would say as a historian, this was the greatest friendship in the world, built over generations. I can understand if somebody comes and says, look, I don't see why taxpayers in Texas and Iowa should pay for the defense of Germany and France.
Yeah.
Completely reasonable.
One explanation.
I want to ask you something here. Until now, he's been talking about power struggles, right? At one point, he did say that humans have always been like this. There has always been power struggle. And I agree 100%, right? People say all relationships are about emotions, and there is one particular group that says it's about wealth, and one particular group that says, power struggle. So there can be other groups, right? I'm just giving some examples. So these groups of people who says power, wealth, emotions, whatever it may be that controls human emotions, that directs human emotions, I would say all of them basically is one or other form of, validation, right? Even the word power is about validation, because when you have power, whatever you say is automatically validated to be right. That's what power is essentially in its fundamental, single line. If you want to sum it up, if you have power over 10 people, that means whatever you say have a validation of 100% certainty to 10 people, to those 10 people, to those particular group of people. So essentially everything is validation, right? And he said, let's say power is itself analogous to validation in this particular example, to quote him, just to quote him. So he said, from the start of humanity's development or technological development, it always been a power struggle with humans. And he said we should come out of this cynical ideology. So do you think what we carry in our genes from the dawn of humanity, if we remove that, will we continue to exist as we are existing right now? As will we continue to grow as we are growing right now? Or we just, go down a faster path to extinction, or maybe a good way to, real abundance. There are so many paths, there are so many questions, so many variables we don't know. So to complete these equations, we need to know the variables. You can't solve all the variables with only just one equation, right? So what do you think the variable should be? Like, answer about if you do really believe that we need to get out of this thing, this cynical ideology. And of course, I will then say my point of view. And if not, and also if it is yes, what are those parameters or what are those variables that we need to know to make this particular equation to go towards abundance or towards extinction? How can we control that path?
First, you told validation.
Yeah.
That's when I got one more word called value, store of value. Well, this is generally store of value. So I think validation and value both are interchangeable. If you have validation, you could get value. When you have value, you could get validation. That's how it works. It's kind of energy and the mass equation. It can be interchangeable. So if you want to get out of the power struggle, you have to make sure that everyone has a validation, which means you have to make sure everyone has enough value. That's generally what we call abundance. So to reach there, I'm not sure whether we will reach there in our lifetime, but one way at least I have here this podcast called Zero Zero. So from that, as far as I know, we generally need two things to reach abundance as well. The first one is a brain which thinks like human but can think for longer and a better duration. And the second one is, the first tool, it's the brain. So brain is like the chips, the computer. We need the best chip that's more efficient and better at calculations than our human brain and human consciousness. So I think we have cracked some part of the human consciousness, which is artificial intelligence, but we haven't cracked it completely. But when it comes to the brain, I think we have just scratched the surface, because when compared to human brain's efficiency and potential, I think current days RAM and semiconductor chips aren't that good. When it is compared to the transistors and the before one vacuum tubes, it is better, but it's not close to human brain. So to reach that abundance, that equation needs generally three things. The first one is the brain that can think, and the consciousness, and to power these two things, you need energy. So when you have these three variables filled, that's when I guess we can get out of these issues and reach a state where everything is good and everything is good. But as you told, once we reach abundance, I guess that's when the path to extinction begins. Because as we know, human history and evolution is very long compared to what we are now. The industrial evolution is maybe 400 years, but it's not even a percent in human evolution history. So once we reach that abundance, we will start to fall, because throughout evolution we need something to run behind. When we don't have the thing, that's when we fall to wrong things, and the extinction of humankind starts there.
We already discussed this point off camera, and just for the sake of our audience, I will be repeating this point right now. what it is that when we get to the abundance, obviously we discussed this, and you just told that we get on a faster route to extinction. And of course, as Carl Sagan said, extinction is the rule, right? And we have been the exception for so long, and we need to fall under the rule. And there is this quote which you used in your story today, which is the lamp glows the brightest just before it goes off, right? And if you see the entirety of human history and evolution, like the Darwin's theory, if you follow that, then we have lived so long, longer than any intellectual being ever existed that we know of. And obviously, we are now the most intelligent beings on earth, intellectually, emotionally. I mean, like reasoning capability is something that differentiates us from animals. For animals, it's just eat, have sex, and die, right? For us, there is some sense of direction that we constantly have. That, ever since the dawn of humanity, we had this sense of direction, purpose that puts human on his capabilities, on the edge of his capabilities, to learn, to grow, to live the life in a certain way and then die. If not, we could just live like animals, right? We could just find food here and there. We can eat food, we can find a partner, we can have sex, we can have kids, and then we can die, and then they will do the same thing, and this may continue until our extinction. But we are building these technologies, we are going exploring universe, space, life on other planets. I think all these things arised from basic human need of direction and purpose, right? For some it is intrinsic, for most it is extrinsic. Like we can prove that actually. Like this is the example given by you, just repeating for the sake of audience, that when we get group of people and give them a particular task to complete in 9 to 5 cycles, they do that pretty well because they are directed, right? And humans are well good at it. When they're directed, they accomplish great things, like I said. Then if you stop giving them those, if you remove the 9 to 5 cycle, if you remove that particular given task or paths that are available to you, if you just say you can have anything you want, and like everything you learned until that point is invalidated, like you have no influence of your past learnings there, you are a fresh blank paper, right? Then you can have everything that you want. If I say like that, that means that is the true abundance, right? When we get there, the sense of direction is lost because we can go everywhere that we don't know where to go. We don't have the direction. We have the space. We don't have the direction. So I think the cycle starts there. What I meant, the cycle is, like I said in Lion King, it says like there is a line, life to death, but if you turn that, it will become the circle of life. Same thing. I believe this thing called cycle of evolution, right? We started with monkeys. We are now the intellectual beings, reasoning capability. We have reasoning capability. We are humans, like we say, and then we'll go back to that point because we lose the sense of direction. We'll have everything that we essentially don't have anything. So this cycle, when it completes, I think that's when humankind goes extinct. But I believe some part of these humans may branch out in the peak of our intellectual cycle, which is this period of time. I mean, for now, we may say we are not even anywhere near the intellectual, that area. We have so much to achieve: AGI, robotics, unlimited energy, and all. But like you said, the industrialization and everything, it started 400 years ago. And on the grand scale of this evolution, the start of humans and the extinction, I think we are on the last phase.
Yeah.
Because the lamp goes on bright before it goes extinct, and now many of us have intrinsic direction. We are the brightest now. I mean, maybe not the brightest of all the total graph, but we are definitely at least a local maxima. Not a global maximum, maybe, but definitely a local maximum. And we are definitely very closer to global maxima. And when we get to the global maxima, that will be our peak. I sense that peak will be unlimited energy, not AGI, unlimited energy. That will be our peak. And from there, the road of abundance will start, and hence the road of extinction. Then, yeah, it's like if you want true happy place of abundance, you have to give basically a written agreement that you are willing to die because you will. Maybe not you in the sense you, but you will be one of the last phases of extinction. So it's either that or you go towards a direction of extreme directed like ideas. Like one group of people have extremely directed intrinsic directions, and other people just lack in anything, any idea about the society, any direction. This will divide the humans into two groups, and this group without any direction will die. That group survives, and that group will essentially evolve and go to like some other kind of species, not like they are their roots is from humans because they evolved from humans, but there will be something else, there will be some different species. Maybe they can breathe in, maybe they don't even need to breathe. So these things will happen in future. Maybe we can see without light photons entering into our retina, because if we crack unlimited energy, there is nothing else we can't crack. Maybe we can crack the speed of light. We can go in the speed of light. If we go in the speed of light, then basically we can't see anything. But at that point, I do believe we will be evolving. At least some particular group will be evolving, and they will be evolved into other dimensions, other dimensional beings. So maybe four-dimensional beings or five-dimensional beings. We are four-dimensional beings. They will be five-dimensional beings. So we are at the peak of human existence, and we need to accept that if you want abundance, you are willing to die. If you don't want abundance, also you are willing to die. Dying is the part of it, not just you, your race, entire human species. By race, I don't mean your ethnicity, I mean entire human species. They will go extinct. You need to accept that fact. And no matter what part you take the part of utopia or dystopia, it goes to end. It's about what we speak all this about, like we need to go there, we need to go this, we need to be utopia and all. But what you essentially mean is you need to have all good things in your particular life period. 100 years. You only think about that. Maybe you think about your children. Maybe you think about his children or her children. And after that point, you won't be thinking anymore because you can't conceive it anymore. The world is so unpredictable that you don't know how the world will be after that particular point of age. So I guess what I wanted to say is you speak a lot about where we are headed, but essentially what you mean is where you are headed. What will happen until the point you die? Because after that, it doesn't matter because we will die. You will die. Your children will die. Their children will die, no matter what. So I think we should accept the fact and then focus our ideologies towards abundance, and then go to abundance, go extinct. So that should be the part we should take because we essentially have only two options: go to dystopia, go extinct; go to abundance, go extinct. So I think people like to choose part two, but I don't think we will be knowing what path essentially it happened because we won't be alive at that period of time. So we should do our best to make sure it is part two, and that's all we can do in our lifetimes. That should be one of our prime concern in our lifetimes,
Let's
not
just focus on what we can do in our life.
what we can do in our lifetime. Then you can actually do a lot good to humankind and future generations than thinking about what will happen 1,000 years later, right? What to do now to make something happen in 1,000 years later? That should be the question. Yeah, that's my point, and that's what I want to make.